Hey YouTube, what's up? It's CS back here with another installment, and here is my review for UFC on Fuel TV, Sanchez versus Ellenberger. Alrighty folks, now what do you guys think of that event overall? In my opinion, it was exciting, but it did piss me off a heck of a whole lot. I'm just one of those dudes who just doesn't like to see guys gas. You're a professional fighter, you're a professional athlete, and it's just even worse when people say, yo, these guys are some of the best athletes in the world. I don't think any of the best athletes in the world specifically were on this card. And it's not like anyone was saying that for this card, but to say that most of these guys in the UFC are world class is retarded, in my opinion. You know, it's not like a lot of these guys train a heck of a whole lot, like real hard, you know what I'm saying? Some of these guys train for maybe 2 weeks before they're called up to fight in the UFC. Like, train really hard, and it's not like they're active before that. You know, you fight maybe twice a year, so it's not like you're going at it hard, you know, that often and then cutting weight and doing all that jazz the majority of the year. You're probably just chilling on your ass, maybe eating potato chips or chicken wings or some shit like that. So yeah, that's the kind of vibe I get from some of the guys I saw on this card. And the sad part is, it's the guys who have been fighting in the UFC for a while. So I don't know. I really didn't think this card was a good look in terms of that perspective, but it definitely was exciting. Ivan Menjivar, John Albert, perhaps round of the year right there. You know, props to them for throwing down. Of course, John Albert got tired, but you know, I really haven't seen much of John Albert besides an Ultimate Fighter, so hopefully he gets that shit together because he definitely has skills. I'll get to that fight later. Of course, Diego Sanchez and Jake Ellenberger threw down. You know, let's get through that, guys, I guess. You know, of course, Sanchez lost the fight via unanimous decision. I think that was a given. Sanchez, near impossible to finish unless you're BJ Penn. And even Jake Ellenberger couldn't finish him, who has, like, flamethrowers in his hands. You know, he has bombs, and he was hitting Sanchez for the first 2 rounds with him real cleanly, you know, being the better technical boxer. And it's not Jake Ellenberger's the greatest boxer or anything, but that's how bad technically Diego Sanchez is as a striker. And Ellenberger was able to outpoint him for the first couple rounds. Of course, I think he did take him down, and of course he did rock him and all that jazz. And you know, Sanchez was hanging in there like usual because the guy has an amazing, indomitable spirit when he's in the ring, when he has his shit together. And he definitely displayed it this night. And of course, he started turning up against Ellenberger come late round, no, not late round 3, early round 3. And Ellenberger couldn't handle the pace. And Ellenberger, of course, you know, got taken down himself. Embarrassing, you know, just because Ellenberger's a Division I wrestler. And he really hasn't been taken down like that since, you know, when he was borderline bum before the UFC, when he was going up against Jay Herman and getting out wrestled, or, you know, who else? Rick Story, you know, back in the day. And really, people haven't been fucking with him that much in UFC. But if you were to get tired, shit like this were to happen more often. And, you know, of course, Sanchez, he don't get tired. He's going to go at it. He's going to try to beat you up any way possible. You know, if you do get tired, and even if you're not tired, he's going to try to beat you up, but he's probably going to get wrecked in the process, you know. Sanchez isn't that explosive as a wrestler, couldn't out-wrestle Ellenberger, couldn't outstrike him, like I said, due to his lack of technique, so he was taking shots on the feet heavy, and of course, Ellenberger gassed, and, you know, it got ugly for him. Of course, Sanchez made it interesting in that round 3. You know, once Ellenberger was on the ground, Sanchez was going for sub-attempts, and he was using solid ground and pound. Of course, Ellenberger escaped towards near end, wound it up on top, but that was all she wrote for Sanchez because he didn't have another 2 rounds to operate, and if he did, he probably would have won this fight. Maybe a hometown decision for Ellenberger for some reason. I don't know. But yeah, there's no way Ellenberger was going to win that fight, in my opinion, because, you know, if he got in round 3, how much better is he going to look in round 4 and 5? You just don't get better throughout the fight, you know what I'm saying? And if people think Jake Ellenberger has a shot at beating a GSP the way he fought here, and I think that's his only choice to fight the way he fought here against someone like GSP, then yeah, I don't think it's a good look, you know. GSP, he's a Jackson fighter, formerly Jackson's fighter. I'm not sure if TriStar is affiliated with them anymore, but he's just going to figure out a way to maybe be able to control Jake Ellenberger when Jake Ellenberger is going at it in the first 2 rounds like he did here. And then, of course, GSP would start turning it up once he finds out that Jake Ellenberger kind of punched himself out and shit. And then would proceed to UD him from there, which Sanchez would have done in uglier fashion had this fight go on for another round 4 and 5, which I thought should have happened. But I don't know why the UFC didn't publicly disclose that they were going to stop the 5-round main event thing. Apparently, they're going to go back to it. I appreciate that. I want to see some consistency out of the UFC. I hope this is the last 3-round, main event that we see. Not unless it's some, Rashad Evans, Phil Davis shit. I just want to see some consistency in the sport. Just saying, I think that would be nice. And in terms of consistency, I don't think we saw any bullshit decisions this fight card, so, that puts a smile on my face. But again, Jake Ellenberger disappointed me because he did, gas. And I don't think he has a shot against GSP or Carlos Condit, if that rematch were to happen as well. So, not a good look for Jake Ellenberger. What's next for him? Most likely one of those two. I think he's going to wait. As for Diego Sanchez, he's coming off an L. Unfortunate for him. Put him up against Mike Pierce. I think that'd be a good fight. So, yeah, there it is for the main event. All right, folks, now let's move on to that heavyweight co-main event bout between Stefan Struve and Dave Herman. First off, shout out to my boy, Julian Paz, who did pick Stefan Struve to win this fight, and I believe he said a second-round TKO, so good for him. Dave Herman, I thought would get it done in the second round, I believe I said. And I thought he would be able to batter Struve for the most part in round 1 and then finish the job in round 2. He kind of did that in round 1, outstriking Stefan Struve, getting within his reach that Stefan Struve really doesn't know how to use, and battering him with power punches. Stefan Struve, he's an OG, he knows how to take punishment, and he was doing it pretty well like usual. He does have a solid chin, although he does tend to get finished here and there. And yeah, he was able to survive till round 2. Come round 2, Dave Herman gassed as hell. And again, that pissed me off because, Dave Herman, I like his skill set. I think he's a very good fighter. But he gassed. And I know it really hasn't been that big of an issue with him before. But I know he was supposed to be more active as of last year. Of course, he got busted for weed, so he didn't fight that time. And I don't know, he just didn't come into this training camp and train as hard as he did, say, as his UFC debut or bouts past, Maybe he was just hitting a bong or something the whole time in training camp. I don't know. Dave Herman did not look himself in terms of his fighting style. And of course, if you saw the fight, he was hairy as shit. So, yeah, I don't know. Dave Herman, what was up with that? I don't know. But solid win for Stefan Struve. What's next for him? Matt Mitrione, has that fight happened yet? I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing that. As for Dave Herman, alrighty, folks, now let's move on to that Honey Marks, Aaron Simpson middleweight bout. Now, I really underestimated Honey Marks here, and I overestimated Aaron Simpson. Poor me, and poor a lot of people, because I'm not the only person who picked Aaron Simpson to speed through Honey Marks via UD. A lot of people thought that Honey Marks, coming back to middleweight, would have a difficulty making that cut. He didn't. He looked pretty good at the weigh-in. He didn't look drained at all. He looked nice and big for this fight. I really don't know how he got down to 185, but good for him. And he used his size effectively. Of course, if you did pick Honey Marks, you predicted that to happen most likely. He wasn't going to beat Aaron Simpson via striking. Of course, his striking is still really raw and shit. He displayed some nice leg kicks and stuff, but his striking D, he got knocked down by Aaron Simpson in the first round, nearly got finished. Props to him for recovering and not gassing and being able to out-grapple Aaron Simpson over the course of the last 2. Aaron Simpson gassed, something we, could have considered. Something I did consider, considering he's 37 years old. But he fought not too long ago and really didn't gas in that bout. And I thought that he'd be able to keep, some sort of pace up over the course of 3 rounds to at least take this by 29-28. But he couldn't. And some people's eyes, he did take this fight by landing harder shots on the feet, especially in that round 2, which was the deciding round. But I thought Honey Marks got it in the eyes of the judges. If you were to take how they scored fights nowadays, and just use a consistency test or whatnot, some shit like that. Consistency says among the judges' scorecards that Honey Marks won that fight. So I really thought it was the definition of a 29-28 unanimous decision. Of course, in the favor of Honey Marks. Good for him for out-grappling the wrestler here. What's next for Honey Marks? Who is there? Who's there at middleweight? Ed Herman? Maybe? Not a horrible fight. I still think it's a step up for Ed Herman from, what's-his-face? Clifford Starks. Aaron Simpson, he's old as hell. He's 37 years old. Who can you give him? I don't know. Clifford Starks, I wouldn't mind that, or a Kyle Noak, something like that, but solid win for Hani Marks. Alrighty folks, now let's move on to the heavyweight bout between Stipe Miocic and Philip DeFries. Now, this is an example of bad striking D versus bad striking D, and the guy who hit harder won, I would say, yeah. Philip DeFries, of course, primarily jiu-jitsu guy, but he doesn't exactly have pillow punches in his hands, and he doesn't have the wrestling to get down to the ground against a Division I wrestler in Stipe Miocic. So he decided and obliged to, punch with Stipe Miocic, and he was all right, being kind of successful in the early part of that round. Of course, it ended early, but earlier in that early, Philip DeFries landing some hard shots in Stipe, showing his golden gloves, striking defense. Not, I know he used to have striking D. I don't know where it's at, but I understand he's a heavyweight. He feels he can just knock people out, and he feels he has a good enough chin to just stay up there against a jiu-jitsu guy. So he's not exactly going to, display his striking defense in this bout, but, he was able to do what he wanted, essentially. Take whatever hard shots that Philip DeFries was throwing at him, and of course eventually knocked him out. It happened, but still, I'd like to see some striking D out of Stipe Miocic. I know he has it, and I'd like to see him use it in whoever he fights. And he's probably going to have to, because it's going to be some heavy-ass hitter in the form of, a next step up in competition. So I think he has some things to work on for sure. I'd like to see how he can fare against someone who's just not going to get straight up knocked out in the first round. So yeah, maybe his gas tank will be kind of an issue. It kind of was in the Joey Beltran fight, but I don't know. We'll see. Stipe Miocic, though, I do like his skill set, so respect to him. Respect to him for getting it done over DeFries. What's next for DeFries? He's coming off this L, of course. Yeah, maybe a bout with Joey Beltran, the guy that Miocic beat already. And for Stipe Miocic, maybe Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson, he is pretty much a gatekeeper in terms of skill set and in terms of his record from what I've seen. He's not beating the top guys, he's beating everyone else. So yeah, maybe he might beat another person else in Miocic, and Miocic needs to step up in competition, so why not make it happen? Alright folks, now let's move on to that bantamweight bout between TJ Dillashaw and Willel, the Gazelle Watson. Now guys, this was a huge body bag of the night, easily. 30-25, 30-25, 30-26. Damn, I might have scored that 30-24 actually. 24-25, either one. But yeah, Willel Watson getting wrecked early in the first couple rounds. That was ugly. TJ Dillashaw throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him. Some, flying Superman punches, just getting within the guy's reach, beating Willel Watson up on the feet, of course, quickly bringing it down to the ground. Rather easily, typical alpha male game plan, but a little bit flashier. So, solid win for TJ Dillashaw, getting it done over an opponent that he is better than everything at. So, yeah, this is the kind of thing that's supposed to happen if he wasn't going to finish the guy. It should look relatively lopsided like this. Props to TJ Dillashaw for doing his thing. What's next for him? Ivan Menjivar? I wouldn't mind that, although Menjivar probably deserves a step up competition. Yeah, I don't know what's next for Dillashaw. Good fighter, though. Very good fighter. As for Willel Watson, I think he just got cut. Alrighty, folks, now let's move on to that bantamweight bout between Ivan Menjivar and John Albert. Of course, round of the year candidate for sure. John Albert has some serious game, and I really didn't respect it before this bout, and I definitely do now, and I hope you guys feel the same. The guy has some pretty solid raw skills, but I think he'll put it together for his next bout, and I think he won't gas as hard as he did here. I think he'll get that weight cut down and shit. But yeah, Ivan Menjivar took this fight and was supposed to steamroll him. And he eventually did at the end, but he had to work really hard to do it because he was caught in a Muay Thai plum from John Albert. John Albert was throwing some submissions on, had an omoplata at one point, a triangle, an arm bar, a heel hook. And to catch Menjivar in that many submission attempts, was pretty insane. I really don't see Menjivar in some of those stupid positions like he was in just there. Menjivar, of course, being resilient, being the veteran he is, not really freaking out and escaping the way he was supposed to. And, of course, proceeded to beat John Albert eventually when John Albert gassed. He found Albert kind of turtling. Of course, he took his back, landed some very solid ground and pound, and, he choked him out with the RNC. Solid win for Ivan Menjivar. Submission of the night. I thought it was going to be fight of the night up until the main event. I'm really not complaining at the main event getting fight of the night, but I think this thing should get some recognition for both guys. You know, John Albert, you know, he did his thing in defeat, but again, he did gas. That does annoy me, but I think he'll be back next time better than ever, hopefully. So what's next for John Albert? I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. But Menjivar, of course, he's moving up the ranks at bantamweight. I don't know who he faces next. John Albert, I think him and Nick Pace would be a good bout. And maybe Menjivar versus Torres. Just saying. So, yeah, we'll see. Alrighty, folks. Now let's just run through the preliminary card really fast now. Featherweight bout between Jonathan Brookins and Wagner Hosha. Yeah, Wagner just stopped MMA. You're a jiu-jitsu guy with no wrestling, no striking. And, yeah, it's not like you can beat wrestlers either because your game off your back's not that good. So, yeah, you're in the position to where you have to strike with someone like Jonathan Brookins. And on paper, that doesn't seem that bad for you because it doesn't look like you'll take a lot of punishment considering it's Jonathan Brookins, who was thought to have pillow hands before this fight, but you made him look like, you know, a Golden Gloves champion. Just saying. That was ugly. Solid win for Jonathan Brookins, you know, beating Wagner Hosha in an unlikely first round KO. Although he was a favorite, I thought he was going to UD Wagner's ass, but to knock him out like that, I don't know, good win for Brookins. What's next for him? I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. Wagner. Lightweight bout between Anton Quivanen and Justin Salas. Salas out-wrestled the grappler. That's what should have happened in the Simpson Marks fight. Just saying. Whatever. Nice win for Salas. Quivanen. What's next for him? I don't want him to be cut. I think he does have some skills. I think both guys do. And, yeah, I don't definitely think they're the worst UFC recruits, so I think they should stick around, give him a couple fights. Of course, keep Salas, he won, but Quivanen, put him up against another guy who is a debutant in UFC who is coming off a loss and had the loser leave. Makes sense. Tim Means versus Bernardo Magalhães. Magalhães, not aggressive enough with his takedowns. Tim Means, you know, beat him. Whatever. Solid win for Tim Means. And I guess that about does it for my review of UFC on Fuel TV, Sanchez versus Ellenberger. I hope you guys enjoyed that stuff. Leave your comments in the comment section below, please. Give me a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed the event and my review. And yeah, I think that's all for now. Stay tuned for my UFC 144 picks, which should be up soon. Hopefully, it's a dynamite card. 7 fights on that main event. I really can't wait to break that down. And yes, I guess I'll see you soon then. All right, thanks again, guys. Deuce for all my supporters, bruise for all my haters, and take care.